Hello, and welcome to this segment of Diablo Spot News. The biggest thing that was announced for Diablo 3 within the past week is that its beta now has a time frame of when it will be released, which is Q3 of this year. And Q3 means that has a time frame of coming out between July 1st and September 30th. So within that time frame, the Diablo 3 beta should be released to the public. Obviously, the Diablo 3 beta is not going to be released to everybody who opted in for the Diablo 3 beta, and also keep in mind that the Diablo 3 beta will more than likely be smaller than the StarCraft 2 beta, mainly because the StarCraft 2 beta was more meant for balancing the game, and Diablo 3 is not so much about balancing act and more about getting the game to feel right. With the announcement of the Diablo 3 beta, we can now guarantee that Diablo 3 will more than likely come out at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Now, that is based off the fact that Jay Wilson mentioned that the game will be released about 6 months after the beta is announced. Obviously, if things go wrong with the beta, if there's just little things that the D3 team needs to work on, they'll work on it to guarantee that Blizzard quality. But it's safe to say that Diablo 3 is coming out very soon. The next biggest thing that was announced for Diablo 3 within the past week is that there will now be NPCs that follow the player, and these NPCs are called followers. There are 3 followers, one being the Enchantress, next being the Scoundrel, and the last being the Templar. The Enchantress is the magic user, the Scoundrel is the ranged unit, and the Templar is the melee unit. Now, these are generalized roles that each of those followers play, but each one can play different roles as well. For example, the Templar could be switched over into a healer role rather than a melee role. Each follower has particular skills that they'll gain throughout their leveling. You'll be able to actually choose what skills the follower learns. I believe, for each tier, you have the choice between 3 skills, and then once you've chose one, that's it for that particular tier, and then once the follower gains to the next tier of skills, you'll be able to choose one from there, and so on and so forth, just like that. This issue of followers only being useful in the normal difficulty brings questions. Why should I even bother getting these followers, and why should I equip the followers? Well, the thing about the followers is that apparently they have a deep storyline behind them, so it would be good to pick them up if you were interested in the Diablo universe and you want to hear more information about it, especially in the Diablo 3 era. Reading through the interviews for the follower system, I had a few questions that were never really nailed down by the interviews. Was that when I have a follower and someone else enters the game, do I instantly lose my follower? Does it instantly go back to town? Or does the follower only go back to town when I am teamed up with the other player? This is very important as, for one thing, in Diablo 3, sadly, I am betting that there are going to be spammers. So, when it comes to spammers, they just enter in, mention something, and then instantly leave back. It's going to become extremely annoying if I have to go back and grab my follower when that occurs. This also brings around the fact that, like, let's say a level 10 character is in the game and a level 15 character comes into the game. Well, they might not be in the same areas of the game, and they might not want to be helping each other. So, what if they want to do separate missions and do things on their own? Why couldn't they have their followers with them until they decide to party up? One of the big things that was announced for the followers is that it will only be usable in the normal difficulty. Now, that's not to say that these followers will not be in Nightmare and Hell, but it was mentioned that they will be severely weakened in Nightmare and basically useless in Hell. Now, it's a curious thing that they did there, and I'm curious why they did it. It's almost as if they're forcing you to try and do co-op with other players, which I feel is they're wanting to go in the right direction, but it's a negative enforcement rather than a positive enforcement, and positive enforcements are always more powerful. Another thing that came up in the past week for characters in Diablo 3 is that their traits are now increased and they are more generalized. So instead of like an increased damage percentage against demons, it's an increased damage percentage overall against all creatures. Last thing, keep in mind that there have been a lot of hints on the Battle.net forums that we're going to be receiving a lot more information very soon, and I'm betting this is because the beta is coming out soon and they're trying to build up hype for it, and also to just give players information about the game before they actually get into playing it when the beta is rolled out. That's it for this week's Diablo Spot News, and I thank you for watching.